Recording in progress.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Today is Daf Chav Gimel. If anyone has to leave early, Mitzvah Shem will just plan to finish the parak today. Finish the parak, so we're not going to go on to the next Mishnah. So we left off at the bottom. We're in the middle of a Mishnah, a long Mishnah, starting at Chav Beis Amud Beis, goes for almost an Amud. The Chav Gimel Amud Aleph. So we left off at the bottom. We were discussing different halachas when it came by the sota. Then we got into her mincha, and then we said if it became tamei, what to do with it. And we left off bottom line of Chav Beis Amud Beis. Ve'elu shemin chayseyav nistrafos. These are the minchas that are burnt. Right, in the base of Dutchin, perhaps even if the kamitza, right, was already done, as we'll soon see in certain cases, that shkech, thank you very much. That right, there's the shirayim and the kamitza when it comes to a mincha. Right, the kamitza is basically when the kohen goes ahead and scoops up with his right hand, right, scoops up flour from the vessel that the flour is in. That's called the kamitza. The shirayim is the leftovers, the remnants, right, which remain in there. So the kamitza normally, or a standard mincha, gets burnt upon the mizbeach, and then the remnants are given to the kohanim for them to go ahead and enjoy. That is the classic case. However, these are cases when the minchas, when there's some item that is burnt. In others, perhaps it could be the shirayim, or maybe right. So what is that case? So back in the case of sota, we're going to list a couple cases in the sota. So it says of there, she says to him, "Hey, I'm tamei to you." In other words, I did indeed commit adultery, and therefore she admits it. And even if part of it is already is made hektish, or some of it is even placed upon the mizbech, nevertheless, the rest of it is thrown away. We don't continue with it. The kohen don't get it. Or Shabala, Adam, Shi, Tmeya, or there were witnesses that came forward only at this point, right before they were given the shirayim or the drink or whatever it was. Then they said that she was Tmeya, and now she committed adultery, or if she refuses to go ahead and drinks. Or her husband doesn't make her drink, or or also her husband had relations with her going to the base that he's not allowed to have once she's basically set to be a sota. He's not allowed to have relations with her. If he does, then the sota waters do not work, so the mincha is not offered properly. V'chol hanesuas lekohanim. And minchasem nisrafos. And anybody who is married to kohanim, their minchas are burnt. Now, when it comes to kohen, it's a special halacha. When it comes to a kohen, now normally we say you go ahead, you do the kamitza, you put on the mizbeach and the shirayim, go to the kohanim. We learn from the psukim that when a kohen brings a mincha, there is no kamitza. The entire thing gets placed upon the mizbeach and is burnt clear. Right, it's burnt completely, entirely in its entirety. There is no remnants when it comes to the mincha of a kohen. So, therefore, anyone who is married, the kohanim, all right, and even in a general case, all cases, then minchasei nisrafos. Then those, because they are basically, as we'll soon see, right, if they bring in a nedava, they are basically part of the possession of it's the husband's possessions, and therefore they are categorized as kohanim. Bas Yisrael Shani says the kohen. So a Bas Yisrael, a girl, right, whose father was not a Kohen, right, or even, if he was a Yisrael lady or even a Kohen, she says the Kohen, Minchas Nisrafos, they're Minchas Nisrafos because they are in the category of their husband. The Kohenes, and let's say one who her father was a Kohen, but then she says they so married a Yisrael, Minchasa Nechelas. Her Mincha offering is eaten by the Kohanim because she is now under the category of the Yisrael. Mabe Kohen the Kohenes. So what is the difference between a Kohen, a male Kohen, and a Kohenes, says the Mishnah? Minchas Kohenes Necheles. The mincha of a Kohenes is eaten. In other words, by a Kohenes, he's not in the category of Kohen, right? We're going after the psukim that it only has to do with a male Kohen, that everything, there is no kamitz, and all goes on, and all gets burnt entirely kalil. Only if the male, but a female, right, then it is a minchasa necheles. And ma ben Kohen the Kohenes. Oh, I just did it. Minchas Kohen and necheles. So mincha Kohen and necheles. That is not eaten by the Kohen. Kohenes mischalelas. So also another halacha. The Kohenes is mischalelas. She becomes a chalala, right? She has she is a kohenes, and she has relations with a certain person who's usher her. It makes her a chalala. Or the kohen is chalala, but a kohen himself does not become mischala. Once he's a kohen, always a kohen. You can't change his status, even if he's right. Even if he's boil biosasuros. Kohenes matama the mason. A kohenes is allowed to go be matama the mason, go to a cemetery. They the ain kohen matama the mason, but a kohen he is commanded not to go to a cemetery. Kohen echa b'kachei kachim. A kohen eats the kachei kachim from serving the kabbanos, like achadas or a couple others, right? That are the category of kachei kachim. Vein kohenes achelas kachei kachim. That is all. The kohenes cannot partake of those. Ma ben ish leisha. And speaking of the difference between the kohen and kohenes, we'll also say some difference between a man and a woman. Ha'ish parei parei. When it comes to a man, if he's a mitzayra, right? He grows his hair out, right? He tears his clothing. Then isha params. But her, even though she can become a mitzayra, nevertheless, her tahara process is different than that of a man. Ha'ish mother is ben nazir. A man can go ahead and accept upon for his son to be a nazir at a certain age. Benisha maderas bena, but a woman cannot go ahead and make a nether for her son to become a nazir. Haish meglech al nazir aviv. A man can go ahead and if his father, let's say, set aside a korban for his nazirus, and the father died, so the animal is now left there without a baal. So the son can go ahead and use that korban that was set aside for his own nazirus. However, a woman does not do that. A man can go ahead and marry off his daughter on a deraisa level. But a woman cannot go ahead and marry off her daughter on a deraisa level. A man can go ahead and sell his daughter, right, as an ama ivriya to somebody else. But however, the woman cannot go ahead and sell her daughter. Ha'ish niskal arum. A man is stoned naked. Ve'ena isha niskalas aruma. Right, and she is not, or without clothes. We had a question before with some parts are covered. Right, so ha'ish niskal arum. Ve'ena isha niskalas aruma. She is not. She's fully clothed when she is stoned. Ha'ish nitla. A man is hanged after he's killed. He's hanged. Ve'ena isha nitla. That she is not. Ha'ish nimkar b'gnevasa, a man can be sold for his stealing if he can't pay back. Ve'ena isha nimkar as b'gnevasa, but a woman is not. And we will darshan, we will bring the source of all these cases. Fine. The Gemara. Baruch atah Adonai, Shakol Nevro. Zog the Gemara Tana Rabbanan. Kol hanasuas lekahuna min chayseyim nisrafas. The Brisa says any woman who's married to a kohen, right? The kahuna min chasa nisrafas. Now remember, a kohenes, right, is different than married to a kohen, right? Because a kohenes, we said that it can be eaten, right? She's just a daughter of a kohen, just a single, right? So her mincha, we learned out that she's just like every other Yisrael in terms that it's not owned by a male kohen, therefore it's nechelos. However, when it comes to she's married to a kohen, now he has a hand. A kohen has a hand, of ownership into the flour, into the mincha, and therefore, right, there is an issue of that it should be completely burnt. So Kohanes is the kohuna minchas and nisrafos. They are burnt. Ketzad, how so? Kohanes leviya v'Yisrael. Shanice is the kohen. So you have any woman, doesn't matter what she is, whether Kohanes leviya Yisrael marries a kohen. Ein minchas and achelas mipnei sheyesh lo chelak ba, because he has a chelak in it. He's a kohen. Her husband's a kohen, and he is a chelak in it, and it has to be clearly there is no remnants. The aina ayla kalil, right? Mipnei sheyesh la chelak, but it can't be completely burnt because she also has a chelak in it. Right. So Ella, so what are you gonna do? Hakayme, it's karab. So you go ahead and you do take a kamitza. Now it's even though the regular kohen does not do a kamitza, right? You just burn the entire thing. Over here, you take a kamitza out. Ella hakayme, it's karab bi'atzman. That's offered. V'hashirayim, the remainder karivin bi'atzman. And the remnants are burnt on themselves. So you do take shirayim, and instead of giving to the kohanim, those are also burned on the mizbeach. So the Gemara says, what's going on here? There's a halacha that anything that is offerable, right? On that anything that's offered, anything that comes from it, its remnants, right? Whether it's other limbs or certain, or in this case, the shirayim. The flour, you're not allowed to go ahead and burn the mizbeach. So how can you go ahead and then offer the kamitza and then offer its remnants? You're not allowed to offer something after part of it was already offered. Right? So Amar Yehuda Berei Rabbi Shimon ben Pazi, the Masik Lushim Eitzim. No. That which you put on the flour, you don't put it on the shem carbon. Rather, you put it on the shem firewood. You're allowed to offer firewood as an adava on Mizbeach. So we'll call this flat, right? The shirayim. Mitzvah is offered as flour. You can't offer the shirayim again as a carbon. We're not offering as a carbon. We're offering it as it's a wood offering, right? Eitzim, as we'll soon see. Hare b'baltatiru. I'm going to be the Rabbi Eliezer, like Rabbi Eliezer. The Tani, the Rabbi Eliezer, Reimer. You can't offer it as a pleasant aroma, i.e., as a carbon, but rather you can go ahead and offer it as wood, quote unquote wood. Obviously, it's not wood, right? It's flour.
Would it be offered on a different one of the fires that are on this banner?
So this right now, right? Assuming it could be the same one wherever wood is offered or wherever the carbon is offered, could be offered the same. No, it could be. We're still talking about on top of the mizbeach. We're not talking about a separate.
No, yeah.
Right,
but there are some.
But the word market law rules on the.
Right. So, l'chayra, wherever the, I don't recall in terms of what gets offered where or which ones get offered there. But l'chayra, right now, we're saying that wherever the havamina was, you offer it right just like a carbon, and now we're saying you can't do it. So now you offer whatever wood offerings. I don't know if the eitzim was only in a designated area or could it be any on the pyres, right? So Gemara says, fine. Okay, this according to Rabbi Eliezer, you answer the question. But according to Rabban who argue with this, what can you say then? So they actually hold like Rabbi Shimon. The time of the Brisa. Now, this Brisa is talking about a case of there is another time where a person brings a mincha offering, like we're talking about a Kohen. Of let's say he violates something which he has to be carbon olav v'yored, right? In cases of tuma or bitus hasayim, right, or false oath, right? So those cases we say he has to bring a carbon olav v'yored. He can't afford it. He brings birds. He can't afford it. He brings flour. Now, when he brings flour, so is this the same flour offering as a mincha, which is a nadava? So there's a three-way machlokas, right? There's the Tanna Kama over there, who says. The Tanna Kama says that you go ahead and you offer it. Let me see the Rashi. What's that? The Tanna, because none of us brought down the Gemara here, right? So the three machlokas, all right, and 1 second. I'll figure out the Rabbanan. 1 second. So he says. So over there, so there's three suggestions, right? One is that you go ahead and since he, right, you do the kamitza because this is not an adava, so therefore you do a kamitza and then you offer it all, right? The other one says no, you offer it all regularly, just like that of a kohen, right? And the third one, opinions of Rabbi Shimon says hakaymetz karav, you actually do go ahead and take a kamitza, just like the Tanna Kama says you take a kamitza, you do take a handful, even though he's a kohen, and this is. Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Shimon. So he says, yes, you do take a kamitza, right? In other words, just not like the standard kohen. So because standard kohen, you offer everything. You do take a kamitza. However, hakomitz kar bi'asmo, v'ashirayim mispazim al beis hadeshen. The other part is basically spread on the base of Deshen. In other words, they would say in our case, no, that it's separate there. Therefore, in our case, right? So there is a kamitza, that part is burnt. The shirayim can't be eaten by the kohanim. You're right. The shirayim can't be offered on his bech. You're also right. So therefore, they take it and they burn it over on the base of Deshen, where they go ahead and they burn psule mukdash. So that's what he would say in the case of a woman, right, who is married to a Kohen, because once again, she's sort of a Kohen, sort of not. So how do you balance it? You do the kamitza on the first one, and then you don't. And vafilu Rabbanan, and even the Rabbanan, the Tanna Kama over there, like pliga le Rabbi Eliezer Shimon, ella b'minchas chayta shakohana. That was talking about. Remember that the three of Achloigas was talking about the mincha of a Kohen himself. Because that over here had to be offered. But in this case, when we're talking about the wife of a Kohen, afilu Rabbanan Maida, even the Rabbanan would be Maida, that you don't go ahead and offer the Shirayim, like he said in the case of the Kohen, because over here, her hands are sort of into it. So therefore, we go ahead and we burn it upon at the base of Deshen. Fine. Now we go ahead and we darshan basically the rest of the Mishnah. This stuff moves. So Basya on the Suah. We spoke too soon. Bas Yisrael. Which one's this going on? Oh, Bas Yisrael, who's married to a Kohen, I think, right? So my timer. So we say over there that it's not office. The Amakra v'chol minchas Kohen klil tia. Leitachel Kohen v'loik says Leitachel Kohen v'loik Kohen. So it says over there that over there in that case that I think it's not the difference between a Kohenis and a Kohen, right? That says v'chol minchas Kohen, it says Kohen, right? So only that offering of a Kohen is completely burnt, but v'loik Kohenis. It says Kohen, specifically male Kohen and not Kohenis. Therefore, a female Kohenis, hers is nachelas by the Kohen. And Kohenis miskalas, Kohen and miskala, and a Kohenis can become a chalola, but a Kohen cannot. So minala. So the pasuk says v'loichal zara bi'amav. You should go and not go ahead and profane, right, his descendants. Ba'amav zara miskalav who ain't miskalav. So we see over here, we learn from here that clearly we know that the woman is miskalav from the psukim, but how do you know the husband or a male Kohen is not? Because the pasuk says he can only be yiskal zaro, and not he himself. He cannot become a chol. Kohenes metame v'chulei. A Kohenes is so she can come tame. So my time Amakra Emor Kohanim bnei Aaron, tell them bnei Aaron do not become tame. So it's bnei Aaron v'lei bnei Aaron, only the sons of Aaron, not the daughters of Aaron. And Kohen echad b'kodesh kachim, and the Kohen can only take a kodesh kachim. The chsiv calls zachar b'nei Aaron yechlena. It says any male bnei Aaron can eat, and therefore not female. Ma ben ish leisha. Now the Mishnah when it got into the difference between man and woman, not Kohen Kohenes, but man and woman. So Tanabanan ish. So the first case was growing out the hair as a mitzvah and then rendering the clothing. So rendering the clothing. So ish ainli, it says over there the passage says ish ainli ella ish isha minayin sheimer v'hatzarua. Right. So when it says over there v'hatzarua asherbo, so we're over there. We're already talking about the mitzvah, right? That in pasuk hey, which is right ish. Says ish tzaruah hu tamei hakohen b'roisho nigo, right?
This week's parsha,
right? And then it says, right? It says ish, right? So it says Eli Elish ish b'nayik shu omer v'hatzarua ashirbo. Then it says next pasuk v'hatzarua ashirbo hanag b'gadav yuperumim v'roishi yaperu. Then it says the halachas of tearing one's clothes and growing out the hair. It says v'hatzarua ashirbo harei kan shnayim. But over there it says Hatzarua. We were already talking about the mitzvah. So why you say Hatzarua again? If that's the case, why I say Ish? So it says no. Therefore, the matter of that it was discussing earlier, right, is only that was talking about now. Now, since this is Hatzarua, right, and that Tzarua amongst those of Tzaras, we refer back to the previous pasuk where it said Ish. Therefore, this pasuk of Hatzarua Sherbo only applies to the ish and not to the isha. Therefore, we know only the ish is parel parum and not the isha. And haish mother is benazir and isha, but there's benazir. And a man can basically, when his son is a katan, he can accept it for his son to be a nazir, but not the wife. And Rabbi Yechon halacha benazir, that's halacha l'Moshe Sinai. And aish megalech al naziris aviv and aish megalech al naziris avia. Once again, also a man can use the karbanos that was set aside by his late father, who died before he was able to offer them, as for his own naziris. And Rabbi Yechon halacha benazir. It's halacha when it comes to nazir, halacha Moshe Sinai. And aish mekadesh as bitov as ve'ein haisha mekadesh as bita. So the chsiv as biti natati liisha zeh. Right. So he said when it's talking about the man, it says over there where the man says. Right, Omar Ovi Nara. It says that the father said that I gave my daughter only the father can give and not the mother. A man can go ahead and sell his daughter, the servitude but not his wife. Because it says a man sells his daughter. And Haish Niskal Aram, a man is cycle without his clothes on, he's stoned. So my time Ragmu Oiso. It says Ragmu Oiso, my Oso. If you're saying only a man is stoned and not a woman, it says that Ishahu also Ishahi. It says you take out the man or the woman. So obviously a woman is stoned. So why does it say the pasuk Ella of Ragmu Oso? So we learn another lacha must be referring to only he is without clothes, but not her. And Aish Nidlavein only a man is hanged and not a woman. Right, the body's afterwards. So my time Amakra v'talisa iso al eitz oiso v'lo. It says v'talisa oso. It says him. It's him and not oso v'lo osa, not him and not her, and not ish nimkar b'genevasa. A man can be sold for if he steals and he can't pay back. V'inish nimkar b'genevasa. My time was the reason. Amakra v'nimkar b'genevasa. Says he should be sold as gneva, b'gnevasa, below b'gnevasa. Only his stealings and not her stealings. And hajala, Sunday at the Shabbat, 6:40.